Well, g'day curd nerds. Have you ever wanted to spice up your halloumi? Halloumi is great fried, normally, without any additives. However, I thought I'd take the halloumi to the next level. Today, I'm going to be matching halloumi with chili for a match made in heaven. So halloumi is a Cypriot dish, and I've made a halloumi video before, which I'll link to in the description up the top here, and you can go and check out that video. But I'll be going through the whole process today. So the halloumi, once I put them in the hot way, they floated to the top. It was all beautiful, and there's even a taste test in the video, so watch for that. So let me show you how I made halloumi with chili, a match made in heaven. So first begin by sanitizing your equipment. I'm using milk by Inglenook Dairy. It's pasteurized and unhomogenized milk. It's perfect for this halloumi. So the chili halloumi ingredients is 8 litres or 2 gallons of whole cow's milk, half a teaspoon or 2.5 millilitres of calcium chloride diluted in 1/4 cup of non-chlorinated water, half a teaspoon or 2.5 millilitres of single strength liquid rennet diluted in 1/4 cup of non-chlorinated water, 1 tablespoon of dried chili flakes, and this time around I'm using pink Himalayan fine salt just to give it a little bit of a slight colour to the cheese, just for an effect. So fill your pot up full of milk and then start your heating device, however you may heat your milk. I'm using a precision cooker there. So set the temperature to heat the milk to 32 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Meanwhile, while you're waiting for the milk to heat, add the chili flakes to a small saucepan. Then add in 1 cup of water. So we're going to bring that to the boil and then simmer that for 5 minutes. So once that has boiled for 5 minutes, strain it, retain the chilies and the water. The water's going to be very spicy. So once your milk is at the right temperature, I'm now going to give it just a quick stir and then add the chili water for a bit of a kick into the milk. Give that a bit of a swish around and put the chilies aside for later on. So now we're going to add the calcium chloride to the milk. Give that a quick stir. And then add the rennet. Pour that in whilst you're stirring the milk. Now don't stir that for any more than 1 minute, or the milk will begin to set. Pop on the lid and allow that to set for 40 minutes. I'm using single strength rennet. It has an IMCU rating of 200. So take the lid off and then get your curd knife and check for a clean break. It's very firm, so that's good to go. We're ready to proceed to cutting the curd into 1.25 or ½ cubes. I use the curd harp there to do the horizontals, and I'm using my curd knife to do the vertical cuts. So do them one way and then perpendicular to the first cut. And once around, all good. So pop the lid on for 5 minutes to allow the curds to heal. 5 minutes later, now we're going to raise the temperature of the curds to 40 degrees Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit over the period of 20 minutes. Now all I did was just set the temperature on the precision cooker, set the timer for 20 minutes, and by the time I'd finished stirring gently, it was at the correct temperature. Just check along the way to make sure you're on target. So gently stir the curds. We're now cooking them to help them shrink a little bit and release a bit of whey. 20 minutes later, just check the temperature, and that's at about 39.5, 39.6, so close enough. So once at the new target temperature, just remove the heat, turning off my precision cooker and just taking it out of the sink now. Put that aside. Pull the plug out. Now we're going to place a clean pot that I've just boiled water in. Just tip the boiling water out. And we're going to place that underneath the colander because we need to retain the whey for this cheese. Put your cheesecloth on top and then drain the curds through the cheesecloth lined colander. I'm using a loose weave cheesecloth for this cheese. It worked fine because the curd size were still fairly large. Okay, now we're going to pop the curds straight back into the pot it just came out of. Let it drain a little bit, there we go. Pull that out. So we're going to retain the whey and keep the cheesecloth clean as well. So put that over on the stove. Now, I'm just going to tip off that excess whey there. We don't need that. Now we're going to add the chilies to the curd. Just gently stir that, just gently. And then put your chilies into the curds. Now we're going to gently mix that through. You don't want to mix too much or you'll start to release some butter fat, and that will be good for nobody. So that's enough stirring, not very much. So we're going to place the cheesecloth back over the colander. And we're going to drain the mixture through the cheesecloth lined colander. I'm using a loose weave cheesecloth here because the curd particles are rather large, so they won't go through the cloth. So just going to cover that and allow it to drain for 3 minutes. So 3 minutes later, I've got 2 boards there. I've sanitised those. I'm going to place the curd mixture still in its cloth onto one of the boards. So it should retain its shape from the colander, and then just fold the cloth over the curds. Just gently. We want the curds as flat as possible, so we don't want any big lumps of cheesecloth there on top of the curds. So just try and lay it out as flat as you can. So I'm going to place the second board on top, and then we're going to put 4 kilograms of weight on top, which is about 9 pounds, for 10 minutes, just for an initial pressing to get the curds to knit together. So 10 minutes later, we're going to remove the weights, remove the board. I'm going to flip the bag over. It should be fairly well consolidated now. There we go, simple flip. And we're going to put the board back on, put the weights back on, and we're going to repress for another 20 minutes. So whilst you're waiting for the 20 minutes, heat the whey up to 90 degrees Celsius or 194 Fahrenheit. Do not boil the whey. So remove the board and the cheese from the cloth, or just open up the bag. Don't take it out of the cloth. It's just as easy to do it with the cloth on, no big deal. So you get a nice big flat round there. Now we're going to cut the halloumi into 6 large pieces. There we go. Nice big slabs of halloumi, that's what we want. Just gently peel them off the cheesecloth. And I'm just going to put them on that board there and transfer them to the cooking area. So I've got that all set up now. The whey is at the right temperature. You might find that there's some There's some scum on the top from the whey. This was not thick enough to be ricotta, so I kind of just skimmed it off a little bit. But maintain the heat of the whey during the process at 90 Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit. So skim off any of the floaties that are on top there. Just makes it easy to see the curds when they sink and float. So I'm going to cook the halloumi slices until they completely float to the surface. Just plonk them in, they will sink to the bottom. And as they heat up, they change density and float then. So we're going to set up 2 trays, one with the pink salt on top, just laid out there, and the other one with a little draining rack on it. Just checking the temperature. We're fairly close to 90, so that's good. So the halloumi will float within 10 minutes to 45 minutes. It seems to be the norm when I make halloumi. That's kind of the range. So there's the first one that's floated. So I'm going to remove that slab and then coat it with salt and then allow it to drain. So I've got rubber gloves on there just to stop my hands from burning. It's very hot. Let's give them a bit of a rub with the salt. Now you actually don't need to fold it over. You'll see I changed my mind halfway through. I only used to fold it over because I used to have a mint leaf in the middle, so there's no mint. So it's kind of just habit. So as the curd bits float to the top, just repeat the salting process and then place them on the draining board. Now the next 4 took a little bit longer. As you can see, I mentioned don't fold the slabs, so I just unfolded them while they were still hot. Just made them easier to cut and fry later on. So they're taking a little bit longer. It took about 30 minutes for the next one to float. And the total time was about 45 minutes for all of them to come to the surface. And when they float, they start to float on their ends, and then they go flat as they float. Okay, so they're all fully salted. There's no more left. There's only 6 pieces, Gav. So we allow those to drain for 1 hour, and we turn once. So once they're drained, we can then pack them up for storage. Now I chose to vacuum pack them. I've done this before and it's worked really well. Holds the moisture in and the salt in. Firstly, if you want to save these for later on, before you cook them, you can vacuum pack them for storage in the kitchen fridge. So I just put a couple of pieces there, and then it was enough for a meal for 3 of us, each packed amount. There we go, all vacuum packed up. Just write on them when you made them. So to serve the halloumi, just heat a little olive oil in a frying pan. That's about a tablespoon. Allow the pan to heat up. And then we're going to cut the one of those slabs into quarters. Seems to be about the right size. And then we're going to fry those until they're golden brown. Now the beautiful thing about halloumi is it doesn't melt, so it just goes nice and caramelizes on the outside, increases the sugars, and you get this lovely flavour when you've fried it. So just make sure all surfaces are fried. I just did the edges and all that sort of stuff as well. And then it's ready to eat. Anyway, back to Gav. Delicious. So as you saw, I vacuum packed the cheese that I wasn't using. You can store it in a brine solution, a weak brine solution, about 10%, same as you would feta. So I found that if I had done that, the chili flakes would have started to come loose. There's some on the surface as well, but mainly it's in the curds. So I chose to vacuum pack it. It'll last for a long time. Last time I vacuum packed some halloumi, I had it in the fridge for about 6 months before I used it, when it was barbecue season again. So yeah, it's absolutely perfect to store it in vacuum packing and keep it in the kitchen fridge. So I hope you give this chili halloumi a go. It's definitely worth it. It really does kick up the flavour of the halloumi, and it's got a lovely little bite to it, as well as the normal grilled taste you get when you pan fry plain halloumi. So definitely worth a go, so give it a try today. If you're after the written recipe, you can buy that using the link in the description down below. The recipe card is available now. If you want to buy the ingredients, don't forget to pop over to littlegreenworkshops.com.au, and I'll list the ingredients I used for the chili halloumi in the description as well. So thanks for watching, curd nerds, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, curd nerds. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get more cheesy content.